Well, peace and love, everybody. Happy Sunday. What is today's date? Is the 23rd. 23rd? Yes, the 23rd of May, 2021. I'm greeting you in a spirit of peace, in a spirit of love, in a spirit of light, and with the expectation of some good things unfolding in our time together. I greet you, welcome you in peace and love, wishing you infinite prosperity and wellness and wholeness, that the grace of God be upon you. And we're here available today for just some beautiful things to happen. We invite anybody, no matter where you are on the planet, if you are experiencing any type of physical pain, if you know anybody who is experiencing any type of physical pain, please reach out and invite them here, because we are actually going to address that on the spot, live in this time together over the internet. So if you're here in the chat, just please wave or say hello. Let us know that you're here. We always like to know who is with us, and it just adds to the experience of us being here together. So I'm always appreciative of knowing who it is that is here, who it is that's tuned in. I want to say really quickly that there is literally, no matter what your physical condition is, or that of a loved one, or no matter what the diagnosis or prognosis the doctor may be or may have been, there's literally absolutely nothing, with zero exception, that is beyond God's ability to heal. And I know this for a fact. It is an indisputable truth in my book, just according to what I've seen and what I have experienced to be true. And so I know that there are a lot of people who are dealing with different health situations, different health conditions, maybe, growing accustomed to having physical pain, or maybe experiencing things in terms of just the body being out of sorts, the body temple just not being in a completely ideal, optimal functioning state of beingness. And so what I want all of us to understand is that, yes, that is part of the human condition. Sickness does visit the body temple sometimes while we're on this earth sucking wind. And yes, dis-ease does visit our life experiences while we're in the human body. But the truth of the matter is that we are so much more than our body, and our body is merely the servant, not the master. And so if we can actually come to the understanding that we actually have access to power that is greater than what any situation that could be possibly going on in the body, where our body is experiencing some type of attack from some type of foreign agent, whether that's a virus or some type of bacteria or some other type of infection, microbial organism or anything of that nature, any type of disease, whether that's parasites like cancer, because that's all cancer is a conglomeration of parasitic cells that are seeking to take over the body. Regardless of what the case is, we actually have authority over all of those things. And I want to encourage you to just tap into the idea of that as a possibility. Just welcome into the spectrum of your span of consideration that that's a possibility. Not even having to take it as a certainty, but just as a possibility. I want to encourage you to just be open to it as a possibility. Okay. Now, the truth of the matter is that there are certain things that do show up in lab reports and in test results. There are certain things that show up on CT scans and on MRIs. There are certain things that show up in getting blood work done and things of that nature. There are some things that will show up on an x-ray, and yet all of those things are merely symptoms of something greater, something that is beyond what the eye can typically see, And I'm not trying to put shade on any medical doctors or anything, but understand this. Even doctors with all of their knowledge and training are still only using about 5 to 10% of their brain capacity, even as smart as they may be and as much study as they've done. And so doctors are practicing medicine because it's something they're still working at. We're all really a work in progress for that matter. It's probably safe to say that no doctor that you've ever had has gotten 100% scores on everything that they've ever done in school. And so it's possible that there may not be 100% accurate on everything that could possibly come up as it relates to the health. And not only that, the focus tends to be on the level of what is going on, you know, physically, without necessarily the understanding that there are certain significantly non-physical things that are taking place within the spectrum of consciousness that actually impact those things that end up manifesting on a physical level. Hey, Dr. Andrea, good to see you today. Yes, symptoms of something greater. Nothing is beyond God's ability. Ashe, yes, amen. Yes, that is absolutely true. And so the reality is that if there is something that is manifesting in the physical form, that's whether that's a pain or some other type of dis-ease, some other form or fashion in which the body is not existing in a state of homeostasis or existing in a state of harmonium within the body temple itself, then it's indication that there is something in a less subtle sphere, or excuse me, a less dense, a more subtle sphere of our existence or our consciousness that's going on, that needs to be addressed, that's calling for something to be addressed. And really, any sickness, any dis-ease is really a messenger designed to get our attention, because when the message was coming other ways, we didn't get it yet. Okay. And so really anything that's going on in the physical body, including an injury, is the result of something else that's going on, that's calling for our attention, that's likely been calling for our attention for quite a while. And so if it's manifesting in the physical, prior to that, it was manifesting in the mental, in the emotional realm. Okay. It could be something that is going on deep, deep, deep within the subconscious mind of a person, including things that we have no idea are going on because of things that were passed down through our own genetic lineage, things that were not resolved within the life experiences of our ancestors, that they weren't able to work out in their lifetimes, and that we actually, having received that genetic imprint and those things passed down through the generations, we then have that opportunity to heal that, the things that they couldn't heal, the things that they couldn't resolve. And really, that's just another side of the coin, because so many of the blessings that we're able to enjoy, so many of the benefits that we're able to enjoy aren't things that we ourselves earned, but things that are a result of roads that were paved, seeds that were sown by those who came before us in the ancestral realm. And so, yes, I am very clear that right now I'm a blessed man. In so many ways, I'm a blessed man. But I don't stand on these blessings alone. I stand on the shoulders of the prayers of those who've gone before me, those who never met me, and those whose names I don't even know. And they're names of ancestors that I speak every day, but I only speak the names of the ones that I know. There's so many more that I don't know, but I'm able to draw benefits from those whom I knew, or those whose names I know, that may have made their transition before I was born, and those who were gone well before I was thought of, who never knew me, whose names I don't even know. And yet there's certain things, and I'm able to draw benefit from that. And at the same time, the other side of that It's a flow of energy. The other side of that is that there are things that were unable to be worked out, maybe trauma, maybe unresolved emotional or mental things that were going on, maybe some karma even, that they weren't able to resolve in their lifetime. And if something is showing up in me, or if something is showing up in you, that's an opportunity to clear, to break an unhealthy pattern. Okay, no matter what the situation is. You know, I remember a situation where there was this boy who had been having like really bad, violent allergic reactions to wheat. Um, you know, that kind of sucks for a kid, because you think about all the things that, you know, that wheat would be: pancakes, hot dog or hamburger buns, pizza crust, all these kinds of things that kids love. He wasn't able to, and this was many years ago, by the way. He wasn't able to eat any of those things like the other children around him were able to, because he'd have these violent allergic reactions to the wheat. And interestingly, this was something that he developed while he was 11 years old. He didn't have it when he was 10 or 9 or 8 or 7 or 6, 5, 4, 3 or 2. He developed this all of a sudden, started having these violent allergic reactions to wheat. And something that came up is of a family being massacred in a wheat field. Okay. Some point later, you know, the mom ended up pointing out, you know, we're here in the United States now, but our family is originally, our ancestors are actually from Russia. And my it's 3 greats for her, I think, great grandfather stole away from Russia to the United States on a boat, because when he was a child, the whole family was killed, was massacred in a wheat field, and he was the only one that lived. And he was 11 years old when it happened. Dig that, right? Dig that. This boy's great grandfather experienced the trauma of seeing his entire family massacred in a wheat field. Now, guess what? Having elderberry would not fix that. Okay. What are those? I can't even think of the names of the allergy medications. An EpiPen wouldn't resolve that. You know, a synthetically fabricated concoction sold as a pharmaceutical would not resolve that, because the root was something deeper. The root cause of that ended up being addressed, and the boy now, since that time, has no longer had allergic reactions to wheat. Okay, because the essence of his allergic reaction, the root of his allergic reaction, was never addressed. The root cause of that allergic reaction was something much deeper, much more significant, right? And I could tell multiple stories of things like that, whether it had to do with physical injuries, or whether it had to do with seasonal depression, or whether it had to do with any number of things. The root is always something deeper, something that in a lot of cases people wouldn't necessarily be able to put their finger on. All right. Now I just want to take a moment here and check in with you all and see how are you all doing. Feel free to drop in the chat, especially if there's anybody who has any physical pain that you're dealing with. By all means, please let us know. We'll address that pain on the spot via the internet. We're broadcasting through the internet. It's a spiritual internet that's going to be the basis through which we're communicating in terms of the healing, though. You can see my face and you can hear my words through the man-made internet. But there's a God-made internet that we'll be working on that will allow, just like you can see me and hear me, that will be taking place in the spiritual internet, that where the healing will manifest itself. Now, a difference between the physical and the spiritual is Right now, I'm broadcasting on YouTube and Facebook through something called StreamYard. And there's about a 20-second, 15, 20-second delay from the time that I am actually saying these words and the time that you're actually hearing them. Okay. But the thing about with God's internet, there is no delay. It's instantaneous, right? Which is beautiful. Hey, Melanie Ivy, what's going on? Good to see you today for the second time, actually. Um, yeah, so what I hope and pray for all of us is that we just become open to the idea that things, no matter what they seem like or what they feel like, that doesn't have to be our destined forever experience. I know there are times that knowing the best that they know, that doctors may say you're going to have to live with this or have to live with that. And I know that there are people who are on medications to alleviate pain. I know that I went to a pain conference at a hospital. This is when I was still in Detroit. It was a pain conference in a hospital. And pain management, by the way. I don't deal with pain management, by the way. I deal with pain elimination or at least reduction, but not managing it. I don't believe a person should have to learn to manage their pain. I just don't believe in that. I don't believe that to be the will of God for anybody's life, to have to manage pain. Okay, I believe that we are called to transcend it. I don't think we need to be afraid of it, but I believe that we're called to transcend that pain in whatever form it might show up in. Okay. Now, when I went to this conference, they were talking about a variety of pain medication. They were talking about different therapies. There was even this one disc, this one thing. It was a disc about this big and about this thick. Okay, it looked like how you'd imagine like a flying saucer or like a sunny side up egg, but it didn't like curve like, well, it didn't like go like this at the ends. It was like thick. It was like about this thick. And it came, and then there was this little hump, and then it squared off. They would implant that in people's bodies. This thing that's about this big. They put it in people's bodies, and then they control it from a computer. Tell people manage their pain. What? I mean, this is something that they're actually doing. My goodness. And with partial results. With partial results. Listen. God's ways are not our ways. God's thoughts are not our thoughts. God's ways and thoughts are high above ours. And that's the thinking of man. That's the best that, in terms of human beings trying to do stuff on our own. But there's some other stuff going on that far transcends the 5 to 10% of brain capacity that most humans are actually using, no matter how smart we are. They say even Einstein as intelligent and as spiritual as the brother was. They say he only was using about 17% of his brain capacity. Now, for those of you who've been in school at any point in your life, if you brought home, excuse me, if you brought home a score of 17% on any assignment, would that have been something that would have been acceptable to your parents? If your average in school was 17%, would you have been able to have made it to the next grade? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And yet, one of what we consider to be one of the greatest minds of that we know of was only using about 17% of his brain capacity. Okay. Makes me actually think about the movie Lucy. If you haven't seen that, I invite you to check that out. But there is so much more that we have access to. There is so much more um, brilliance and beauty, power and authority that can manifest through a human being. There was something that Jesus, that Yeshua said that was so powerful to me. And now here's somebody who is walking on water, who is healing people who were blind from birth, who is bringing back people from the dead, who is turning water into wine. And I'm not saying these things in order of level of difficulty or significance, just mentioning these things. And yet he himself said, much greater works than these things shall you do. Shall you do. I take that to heart. I take it with a sincere humility, but I take it to heart nonetheless. I take it to heart nonetheless. And I can say that I have been blessed to see some really profound things happen. Some super profound things happen, right? And, you know, I know beyond any shadow of a doubt that God is a healer. And I don't know that because of what I've read anywhere. I don't know that from what somebody has told me. I know that as an absolute fact. I know that as an immutable fact because I've demonstrated God as a healer. And the same can be true for you. The same can be true for you. And I just want to check in again. Is there anybody out there who's experiencing any physical pain right now? We'll be more than happy to address it during this broadcast right now. And if you don't have any physical pain, but you know somebody who does, please let them know. You know, whether today or for next week, we'll be happy to offer support because nobody has to live with pain unless they choose to. Unless they don't know that they have to, don't have to, and then once they come to realize that, unless they choose to. Okay, but I'm putting it out there because there are other things that are available. You don't have to get a disc inserted into your back, a big clunky piece of metal controlled by a computer, and that's absurd to me. Insert it into your back to manage some pain. To manage some pain that still isn't being addressed because, you know, even with the painkillers, that what they do is actually numb the receptors in the brain that are connected with that part of the body to not feel the pain. It doesn't mean the pain is gone. You certainly aren't pain free. You're just unaware of the pain that you're in. And so then what will happen sometimes is people will have this false sense of security, and then they'll do things because they're thinking that they're okay, and then they'll do things out of feeling a little better or not feeling as bad, and that further aggravates the injury. You could have deterioration of your spine, and there could be bone rubbing on bone, and you might be able to have an epidural or take some type of medication that will help relieve the sense of the pain, but it hasn't addressed the issue. And as long as you're doing stuff and that bone is still rubbing on bone, it's just further adding to the problem. It's just further adding to the problem. But I've seen situations in the healing where people had that going on and then had tests done and the stuff repaired itself. Thanks be to God. That's just the blessing of God at work. Excuse me for a moment while I just have a praise break. Because God is so awesome that that's possible. And guess what? God is in your DNA. Did you know that? Did you know that God is in your DNA? Now, yes, you have these two strands of DNA, the double helix, okay, that you got from your mama and your daddy in this physical earth realm. Two strands of those. But you've got several times more spiritual DNA than you have physical DNA, right? You are literally made of the same stuff that God is made of. There's a reference to that if you check in the book of Genesis, where it says, and God said, let's make just like us, own image, own likeness. Okay, you're made of the same stuff as God. And you have access to the stuff that is beyond the stuff that's limited to this physical realm, this physical, earthly, third dimensional realm. There's so much more that we can have access to. A lot of times we don't even know it. We don't even know it. Imagine being hungry. Imagine being hungry and you can't leave your home to go and get any food. You're hungry, 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 wanting desperately to eat something. Not realizing somehow that you have a refrigerator stocked with food and a functioning stove. Not realizing that all you have to do is open the door to step outside, to go somewhere where you could get some food. There are many options available beyond what you recognize. And that seems absurd, right? For a person to sit around hungry in their home thinking that they can't leave the home, or thinking, that unless somebody brings them some food, there's no food that's available to them, when really it's right there all along. Well, guess what? These blessings of God are right here all along. And a lot of times we don't know it, which is why I'm trying to spread this message. And so we can't help what we don't know. And sometimes we're not in a position to do things about things that we don't have the knowledge and information about. There's this spectrum of the things, all the things that we know. And in this spectrum of all the things that can be known, the little things that we know take up maybe this little spot over here. And then there are the things that we don't know, which take up about this much space. But then there are all the things that we don't know, and we don't even know that we don't know, and that takes up all of this space, right? Well, let me see. All of this space. There's so much more out there that we don't even know that we don't know. And so as a spiritual soul, as we all are, but one who's aware of being spirit, manifesting, dwelling, operating a physical body, who's, for whatever reason, in the heart, mind, and soul of God, here at this time as a teacher of spiritual principles. I'm here to share this so things can be in our awareness, because truly people do perish from a lack of knowledge. And sometimes, like I said, we don't know what we don't know. We don't know what we don't know. Augustus Williams, how you doing, my brother? Good to see you. We don't know what we don't know, but that's why it's important to put this information out there so people will know, right? So people will know. And so on my own journey, I've been studying, I've been seeking, and thanks to the goodness and grace of God, I've been finding some stuff along the way. It's required some sincerity, because I've really genuinely been on this journey for a while, and really desiring to really understand things on a greater and deeper level. And God has been kind to me in sharing and revealing some things to me. And I've, as a result of that, been able to be a vessel through which God has moved in some people's lives. Okay. And I'm very clear that ultimately it's not me. Ultimately, it's God. I'm also aware that everything God does through a vessel of some sort. And so I submit myself to be a vessel through which some of that is able to be done. And when I don't get caught up in my own ego, God is able to do that in a very pure fashion when I'm able to kind of stay out of the way. And so the same can be true for all of us, beloved. The same can be true for all of us, can be true for you. Okay, there's some wonderful things that God wants to do in you. There's some wonderful things that God wants to do through you. Okay, and if there's a willingness to be a space through which that can happen, oh, what blessings are in store, not only for the people that you come in contact with, but for you as well. But for you as well. I pray that for all of us, that our cup might be filled to the point of running over, so that everybody who's around us can experience the overflow of those blessings spilling over, and that a drop of heaven might be left behind wherever we go, right? Isn't that what this thing is really all about anyway? Us finding a way to walk in love and light on this journey, even though there are times where it seems like there's a lot of fear and hatred and animosity, even there are times where it seems like there's a lot of darkness and all of these things, that in the midst of all of it, we can still continue to walk in love and in light. In the midst of things seeming hopeless, that we can still walk in power, in authority, and in hope and faith of things being taken care of. There are things that unfold sometimes. I know that in my life, there are times where I feel like I've received a message about something that I feel good about, that I felt empowered about. And then right after that, something happened. It was like, oh, snap, what is going on here? And sometimes it happens that way. Sometimes it happens that way. You're given that in advance to prepare you sometimes for what's to come. And then if you can hold on to the truth that you were given, those external circumstances, you're able to see through them, and you're able to not give your power away in the midst of them, and not subject yourself to fear, not give in to fear and whatever the enemy in your own mind might be trying to convey to you. Okay, there's no hope, things aren't going to work out, whatever the case might be. Not only are things going to work out, they've already worked out. They've already worked out. Some of this stuff, we're just going through the motions of figuring out how it worked out. You know, just like a movie, okay? By the time you're seeing a movie, whether on the silver screen or on the television screen or on your tablet or phone, by the time that you're watching the screen, you may not know everything that's happening, everything that's going to happen, or the exact order of everything that's happened. But guess what? The script was already written. All of the scenes were already shot. The film's already been edited. The conclusion was already determined well before you were going through the process of watching this film. And so it is in the living of our lives. Our lives, in a way, are something of a movie. The script is already written. The battle has already been fought. The victory is already won. There is a happy ending. There's some things that happen along the way that seem like, oh, snap, this isn't looking too good right now. But the more we can stand in faith, knowing that we are truly and deeply, profoundly loved, with a love that isn't based on how we show up, but a love that really is eternal. A love that really is eternal. And so the truth of the matter is that the more we open ourselves up to the reality of God's love for us, and I'm telling you, for there to be infinite love, infinite, you can't see my fingers, infinite love, infinite knowledge and wisdom, and infinite power all working together on your behalf, shucky ducky, quack quack. That's a good situation going on. That's a good situation going on. And I'm not telling you that I don't ever have moments where I get concerned, because that would be a bald-faced lie if I were to sit here and tell you that. in my own humanity, there are times where I doubt some things, where I wonder about some things. And there are times when I say, hold on a second, let me hold my mule. I know a truth that is greater than this situation. And whatever is being presented in this situation is something that is giving me really the opportunity to demonstrate my spiritual muscle. Okay, to be able to see beyond this illusion, because this is nothing but a potential distraction from the truth that I already know. Or I could look at it a different way. This is an exercise that I'm allowed to go through to demonstrate the strength that is placed within me by God in the first place, to be able to see beyond this illusion, to be able to have a faith that is beyond what things seem like or look like in the third dimensional realm. Because I got a truth, I've got an assurance, I've got an inner conviction of a destiny that what is showing up on the outside is basically irrelevant to. That can't change the destiny that God has for me. I'm feeling my help coming on. I'm telling you, there's some particular things I'm thinking about in my own life right now, even as I say that. Okay, that can't change the destiny that God has for you, no matter what things show up. That can't change the destiny that God has for you. The only thing that can keep you from experiencing the destiny that God has for you is your own belief. Well, fact of the matter is, faith isn't really an issue for people. Faith is not really an issue for people. Every human being has faith. And every human being might even have the same amount of faith. The challenge is, or where the problem sometimes comes in, is what we're putting our faith in. Are we putting our faith in the spiritual word that we've received? Are we putting our faith in the circumstances that we're seeing? Okay. Whatever we're putting our faith in is where we're going to see the manifestation unfolding in our lives. Okay. We all have faith. There aren't too many people who went to bed last night with faith that it was not going to be a morning today, that the earth was going to somehow stop spinning on its axis, or that the sun would disappear from the sky. Okay. There are a lot of things that we take for granted that are actually manifestations of our faith, right? Any of you who are here, who are watching this, you somehow have the faith that your body will continue breathing and your heart will keep on pumping, even if you're not consciously thinking about it. And that's how your body was designed. You don't even have to think about breathing to breathe. Now, you can consciously focus on your breath and bring a new level of vitality to your life. You can consciously engage in diaphragmatic breathing, where you're allowing your diaphragm to expand as you're inhaling, and your diaphragm is filling up before your lungs are filling up. You can do that, which is something that can be good for you. You can concentrate on a certain area of your body and breathe in through that area of your body and feel that area of your body coming to life and feel it starting to tingle, right? But you don't have to, in general, you don't have to think about breathing. When you're engaged in, a task that might have all your attention and your body is just breathing on its own. You don't have to think about your heart pumping. It just does it naturally on its own. You have faith that that's the case. It's not something that you even have to think about. In a similar way, there are areas where we can consciously direct our faith. Okay? We can consciously direct our faith in knowing that things are going to unfold well for us. If we want to take it to another level, know that things already have unfolded well for us. I've seen some wonderful, miraculous stuff happen in my lifetime. And the reality is that I'm no more special than anybody else. God doesn't have me set up to experience any more blessings than anybody else. And God doesn't have anybody else set up to experience any more blessings than me. Okay? God loves me, God loves you, God loves us all. And the more we can actually tap in to faith in God more than faith in circumstances, the more we can tap into faith in possibility more than faith in stuff not working out, faith in possibility more than faith in limitation, the more we see those things manifest on our behalf, manifesting for our good. And so I know that there are things that are happening in the world right now that aren't necessarily things that I would stand in line and vote to happen. You know, there's stuff that's going on that doesn't look so good, you know, but I choose to stand in faith of a more desirable possibility and outcome. I've seen, again, some mind-blowing stuff take place. Some mind-blowing stuff take place that was, yes, the grace of God at work and also my alignment with that. Okay. At the risk of getting a little bit too deep, there's nothing that exists in all of nature, in the physical or the non-physical world, that is a secret to God. There is a lot that humans are trying to figure out. And some things we are figuring out. In the study of science, I believe that the God who is the source of our beingness is also the inventor of the law of gravity. There's enough, and for me, like even the healing, I can talk about it on a more medical context, in a more medical or a more scientific context. I can talk about it in a more spiritual context. The reality of the matter is I can't really separate the two. I can't really separate the two. Many, many, many years ago, a philosopher named Descartes came up with this idea of separating, this idea of focusing on the scientists, focusing on the scientific stuff, and the people in ministry or the church focusing on, and the philosophers focusing on the non-physical stuff. But the reality is that the source of all existence is at the root of it all. God is at the root of it all. And so there are some things that are unfolding in science and in the realm of quantum physics and such that that are beginning to, where humans are beginning to get an idea of an understanding of how things actually operate, how things actually function. Okay, there are things that humans are learning about in terms of deciphering the human genome or being able to break down gene sequences and figure some things out. There are things that people are learning. The reason that you and I are even being able to have this discussion while I sit in my office in Tampa, Florida, in my home, and you're sitting in Detroit or Atlanta or Texas or wherever in the planet that you are, is because of humans tapping into levels of science that have existed in the mind of God all along, right? I can pick up my phone and send a message to my niece in South Africa and she can get it like that, right? My phone isn't hardwired to her phone. That's part of the beauty of something scientifically that's taking place. And there are some things that God has blessed me to be able to kind of tap into and to on some level to see something of the science of it and seeing the science of it and the spirituality of it is really all connected. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing to me. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing to me. And so we all actually have, and I know that humans are trying to figure out time travel and all of this stuff. I was watching this show, I think on Amazon Prime yesterday called Solo. It's called Solo. on Amazon Prime or HBO Max, but I think it was Amazon Prime. Um, and there are times where they were dealing with stuff related to time travel, and I know that's something that's been fascinating for humans for a long, long time, right? This idea of time travel. And the reality is we can time travel, and we do it all the time in our minds, right? How many times have you ever smelled something and it took you back to your childhood, right? Heard a song and it took you back to a certain relationship or a certain period in your life, right? Experienced something with somebody and it caused you to relive another point in your life of something that had happened maybe a long time ago. We all do that. Or you have something that comes up, maybe an opportunity that comes up. You think about times in the past that the opportunity didn't work out, and then you feel reticent about feeling hope for this new opportunity. Or you yield to the temptation to be worrisome and anxious. In that situation, you're time traveling to the future, projecting a fear of the past into the future, that things in the future aren't going to work out. Well, I believe that we can time travel in much more useful and productive ways. And one of the ways that we can do that, one of the ways that I have from time to time done that, and I think is beautiful, when I'm disciplined enough to do that, and my focus enough to do that, well, I've traveled to a point in the future, and remembered the future as a memory of something that's already taken place according to a desired outcome, and become fully present to the experience of that as a memory of something that already took place. And then I bring that memory back into the present moment. And then when present moment passes to present moment to present moment comes, and that thing which was the so-called future becomes the present, and then I actually experience it just like I had experienced it in the so-called past, remembering the future event. I know that might have sounded a little bit confusing. Forgive me if it was like convoluted in the delivery of it. I'm just telling you that I've experienced that. I've experienced some wonderful and amazing things happening that way. And it's something that we can all tap into. In essence, is really just having faith in a certain beautiful thing unfolding for one's benefit. All right. So I'm going to check in again. We're coming towards the conclusion. And I'd like to check in again, see how are you all doing. Want to make sure there isn't anybody who's experiencing any pain, sickness, or dis-ease. If so, please let a brother know. We'll be happy to address it. And also, I want you to be aware that, this thing that I'm talking about, listen, this is not unique to me. If you are interested in training and learning how to access this, reach out to me on Facebook or on Instagram at Royce Fletcher Thomason. You can even reach out to me on Instagram at Transcending the Matrix. Either way, send me a direct message. Let me know. Listen, I don't want to just keep this to myself. There's too much goodness here for me to just hoard to myself. I have a desire and a goal to make this available to anybody and everybody who has the least bit of interest in it. I would love to see a healer in every home having somebody who's tapping into this healing power of God that's available. And the healing doesn't just manifest as healing in terms of physical healing. It manifests as spiritual maturity, growth, the development, and unfoldment. It manifests in just overall elevation of consciousness. It manifests in an ability to serve on a higher level. It manifests in a deeper, closer, more intimate walk with God. It manifests in so many beautiful, beautiful levels. I'm telling you, I am just so thankful to be able to participate in this and be able to do this work, and that God allows me to be able to walk this walk, and to lead me to this place. I got to tell you, I was not always receptive or eager or willing. So thank you, God. Thank you so much. I think of that day in the year 2000. I had just started a ministry after getting kicked out of seminary for the reasons of not demonstrating a promise for ministry, right? um, and God caused some divinely orchestrated things to unfold. Now I get to train doctors and pastors and ministers and medical professionals and psychotherapists, and just anybody who's interested in growing spiritually or interested in health, healing, wellness, wholeness. People who want to get rid of pain, from all different kinds of backgrounds. And I'm just very, very thankful for that. I'm very, very thankful for that. And I'm thankful for you all who are on the path. I know that not everybody is consciously on the path that you're on. I salute you for the walk that you're on, the journey that you're on, and your commitment to the journey. I pray God's richest blessings upon you, that there is light for your path as you're walking your journey, that anytime that you might stray off, to not beat up on yourself too harshly, because even the straying off is part of the journey, is for whatever reason that you needed to take it. There was maybe some experience that you needed to get to help you to more firmly be where you are now, or where you ultimately need to be, or maybe to help somebody else along the path. I haven't always been where I am now, and I'm not now where I'm going to be. Okay. We all have times where we are going through the process of growth, and we might sway one direction or the other while we're in that process of moving forward. But the goal and the idea is to keep pressing forward, to keep moving forward, to keep our heads held high, to keep our souls filled with love and with light, to keep our minds and our hearts open to what it is that God wants to do in us and through us, to be willing to get back up no matter how many times we've fallen, to be those rubber butt people. When we fall on our butt, we bounce back up, right? We fall down, but we get up, right? It's okay to fall as long as we get back up, get back up, get back up. Keep pressing forward. Sky is the limit. Let's keep pressing on. Hearing D-Train, the DJ in me is coming out. I'm hearing the song Keep On by D-Train in my head. Anyway, God bless you all. I love you. I want us all to remember that life is fleeting, circumstances, things are transient. There's so many things that we might seek to try to better our lives, to offer us some level of satisfaction. But really, deep down inside, all of us are ultimately seeking a sustainable state of supreme satisfaction, that which is able to continue to perpetuate itself, and that which is ultimately satisfying, not just temporarily so. And I believe that God makes that way possible for us to experience. Let's just keep on moving forward, keep on walking in grace and peace, knowing that we're not doing it just of our own flesh or just of our own thinking, but knowing that there is a great wisdom and a great power and a great love and a great life that is living inside of us, that is just waiting to express itself. God bless you. I love you. And I'll see you soon.